Welcome to Resonance, a podcast by Quetzal y Andrade, where we talk about bass, effects, and live things. Good morning. It is a foggy day. Not foggy day schedule at my school, but again, it's Monday. We're en route to work, and it is foggy outside. It's been like this for like a month and a half. I forget how many weeks, but it's definitely a record for us here in the Valley, in Fresno, California, in the United States. And I wish I could say the weather was the worst thing that I have to talk about, but really it has to do with the the frustrations that one goes through when you have a pedal board or multiple effects pedals and a bass, right? And you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on with your signal. Why is there loss of signal, excessive floor noise, perhaps just an overall staticky presentation to your playing, right? Like, what is going on here? So several days ago, I assumed that it was a dying battery. I assumed that it was time, and so I flipped open the back of the bass, which I recorded a clip of that and threw it up on IG, and it got like several thousand views. So I'm like, what the heck is up with that? But okay, I guess we all needed that fix, as did I, or so what I thought. So I swapped out the battery, and the signal seemed to improve in clarity and the overall output volume. But within the next couple of days, it still seemed like, man, I'm having to really push the volume while I'm recording more than usual. And we got an ambulance coming through here. Hopefully everything's okay. Everything's in order. And we all pull through. So just give me a second. Ambulance is now passing by. All right, we are in the clear. And as I was saying, the signal kept presenting itself in a weak fashion, and so I ended up taking a closer look at my pedal board, right? And it seemed like the problem or the issue was tapering down, funneling down to the last three pedals of my pedal board. And so it came down to either the Ditto looper, the Sonic 8 compressor, or the slower stereo reverb pedal by Walrus Audio. So those are the last three pedals in my chain in the modular double decker. Those of you that know, I have my pedal board split. I have the mini mono light pedal board in front, which I call that my main brain. That's the one I always take to everything. And the modular double decker is, the added, studio component, recording original music component with extra bells and whistles that I definitely enjoy. But anyway, back to the issue, right? I was getting a very weak signal. It seemed to be dying out all the more. So I was like, man, this is going to suck if it's an actual pedal that's just tanked on me. But then I kind of assumed that maybe it was something else too, right? It's like, well, let's not jump to conclusions. I was already flipping out, and by doing so, I mean I was already immediately looking up my Walrus Audio pedal, because I thought, after switching out several patch cables and routing and skipping different pedals to double check to see if which one was working, which one was not, it seemed like my Walrus Audio stereo reverb pedal was out. And so I was on Sweetwater, Amazon, checking out Walrus Audio slower pedals, and it's like, oh my gosh, this thing's $350. I bought mine used, I think for $200 or $250 at the most, $240. I can't remember. It was on Amazon, but it was like in like mint condition. So I assumed that, well, if that pedal went out, maybe it was because it was already used. Maybe it was on its last leg, and I just got lucky with it surviving as long as it did. But I was like, man, $350. I don't want to buy another pedal, but I really like the form factor, the sounds I get out of it, where the outputs are, etc. How it fits on my pedal board. You already know everything's pretty tight underneath the modular double decker. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep looking at this and make sure I'm not just going to pull the trigger with money that I really should not be spending at this moment. So I kept troubleshooting stuff, and then I thought I figured out that it was a power cable, right, coming off the DC7 chocks brick, right, underneath. So I thought, okay, maybe one of these little power connectors is actually the problem. So I disconnected it. I put a newer, unused little power link, plugged it into the Walrus audio, and wow, it worked. Little did I know, the only reason why it worked was because I had swapped out some other patch cable, and therefore it started functioning. So you can see where this is going. There was a patch cable that was, I guess, messed up. I don't know how or why. Maybe too many movements, too many load-ins, load-outs. I'm not sure. But either way, I figured out that it was a patch cable after swapping out a power link or power cable. And so that was frustrating, right? Having to just go through the whole thing. And I don't know how long it took me. Maybe an hour. But it seemed like the longest hour of my life, troubleshooting and trying to get to the bottom of it, and then finally fixing it. But I guess the highlight of that whole thing was knowing that I wouldn't want some sort of floor processor that would just easily eliminate any of those type of wiring problems, and yet present other type of either visual or memory recall difficulties, right, for me to go ahead and navigate and use properly. I figured if this is a problem that happens once a year, I'm willing to go through this in order to fix my baby, right? This is my baby. I love my pedal boards, and the struggle's real sometimes, but we don't stop, right? We don't give up, because it's what we enjoy, it's what we like. So anyway, glad to say the pedal board is up and running. Start recording again, and even that night, right? I guess the silver lining of it all, aside from the fact that it's like, okay, I was able to fix what I really enjoy. I feel like pedal boards are iconic to me. Was the fact that my 15th album was released that night / morning, right, depending where you are in the world, and that album Latidos is the most recent drop, right? I'm so happy that it's out there. The fact that creativity is still a priority to me, originality, and that it's out there for you all to enjoy. It is drum track less. There are no drum loops or anything like that. It's all just bass, and definitely several tracks with effects. So I really like the momentum of this album, because that's how I initially started recording, right, at the beginning of last year, beginning of January of 2025. No drum loops, just all bass and effects. And then 6 albums later, I decided that, okay, drum loops will be in order. So I start adding that on album 7 and so on. And so this is the first album since album 7, now album 15, where I don't include any sort of drum loops. And it was a nice change in feel and momentum. I really felt like, okay, let me kind of soften the sonic presentation. It's February, love is in the air. Let me not present such an aggressive sound out there, and kind of cater to the season, right? So those of you that know or follow me on IG, I did disclose the, if you want to call it cheesy, lovey-dovey, sappy, well, I don't know about sappy, but the idea that I tried to present a hidden message in my album, right, on the actual, I guess, list of tunes, right? If you read the list, it's Latidos, Ojos Cafés, Vibrations, Elated, You and Me, Luz Bella, Escalar, Nights by the Sea, and Anhelo. And so the beginning letter of every track, right, the first word or the beginning letter of every first word of each track, if you go down the list, it spells out love you, right, on track number 5, because it's actually the full word with the Y-O-U. Lena, my wife's name is Lena, and so I had to nerd out just a little bit and kind of present some sort of little hidden message for her, and just for the archives, and for my kids at some point, should they look at the music and be like, look, dad loved mom, and this was one of his ways of demonstrating it, right? So again, love you, Lena, my awesome wife. She's an incredible person. In fact, just real quick, she ran a 10K yesterday morning, and her previous time for running that was 1 hour and 35 minutes. So she immediately alerted me after she was done that she had PR'd, right? Personal record at 1 hour and 18 minutes. So she was ecstatic. She was super happy. I'm definitely proud of her and happy that she's happy and that she keeps pushing herself, right? That she is all about fitness and self-improvement and overcoming motherhood and age and work and all the adversities that I guess make running and staying fit and being conditioned virtually impossible, right? It's insane how she makes time to do this, waking up at crazy early hours, and again, it's something I don't see myself doing. I don't do it, and therefore I say I can't. But she's so resilient, and I feel like that's the kind of passion and drive that I have for music, right? Definitely focus my energy and time in music as far as my hobby and or passion, right? It is a career, but again, I mean, some people have careers and don't particularly enjoy them or love what they do. So want to share that piece of personal life information because I love my wife. She's beautiful, amazing, strong, resilient, smart, a loving mother. She definitely, I don't know what we'd do without her. So my kids and I love you, Lena. All right, guys, moving on. But Latidos, definitely an album that hopefully you'll be able to check out. Give me your feedback, right? Message me. Tell me what your favorite track is. Maybe why. How do you feel about the drum tracks, right? Do you enjoy the tracks that have drum loops more than the ones without, or is it kind of 50-50 depending on the specific piece? I'm curious about that because I don't think I'll be necessarily swayed to do one thing or another, but I feel like both are important, both are needed, and both have something to offer. There's a time to be a little bit acoustic-y and broken down, right? Unplugged, if you will. And then there's a time where, yeah, we want to be a little bit more, I don't want to say upbeat, but just a little bit more rhythmically pushed, right? But by percussion and whatnot. So anyway, Latidos is out, album 15. We're in February. And yes, as far as I know, there will be a March 1st album 16. I have no idea what I'm going to call it, but there are 6 tracks finished, I believe. Or is it 7? I don't even know. Anyway, stay tuned. March 1st, new album will be dropping. Next point of topic that I want to present here on this podcast: bass straps. Bass straps. Oh my goodness. Hopefully you haven't been like me where you've pulled the trigger on several straps that you thought and hoped would work and ultimately end up just disappointing for one reason or another. I'll take a sip of this coffee real quick. Bass straps. Oh my goodness. I've had several. I'm sure you have too. But I definitely have come to the conclusion that I have a favorite strap of all time, right? The GOAT strap, if you will. And I still do. I have 2 Groove Gear Solo Strap 4.0s. They're great. They are comfortable, but they are big, right? 4-inch wide strap. I'm a skinny, tall guy, and those straps sometimes I feel just seem a little bit too invasive on me personally. But they are very comfortable. I do have them. I don't see myself getting rid of them for any reason. But out of all the straps out there, of course, the leather look to me is my favorite. I still have my very first leather strap that I ever bought when I was in high school. Granted, it was like a not even a 2.5 inch strap wide. It's like 2.25, I want to say. So it's pretty thin, not very wide, but it's that suede type of strap that over time, like if you wear it enough, it smoothens out underneath, right? The part that actually comes into contact with your shoulder. And the color was very cool. It is very cool. It's like a tan, light tan color. And so I still have that strap. I don't use it because it's just all too thin. And it's what it is, right? But I have to I have to connect that little piece of history and or I guess I used to really love that strap. I actually kept the bottom leather strip that you're able to adjust the length with, right? The actual part that connects to the bottom of your base. I took that strip out and put it on this other strap that I've had for several years that I actually didn't use for about 5, maybe like 7 years. I didn't use this one particular strap for about 7 years. But I ended up using it again once I got the S Martin base back in March of last year. And the reason for it is because with the Groove Gear strap, it's super comfortable, it's really soft, and you got all that padding. However, it's very thick, and you can only fold it and roll it up certain ways. And I didn't want to do that with the new Vertigo semi-hollow body guitar case that I have from my S Martin, because it's headless and small enough to be able to fit in that, but it's wide enough for the body to fit in there. And I felt like I didn't want to try to shove that type of strap in the actual guitar or bass compartment, and I wasn't going to be able to roll it up tight enough and small enough to be able to pack above the headstock within the case, which is another detail I could talk about, how cool this case is. And even though there's about like a 3 to 4 inch gap above the headstock, I can roll a strap and put that in there. Anyway, getting to that, jumping the gun. The Groove Gear solo strap is just too wide, and because it's a short scale or medium scale headless, smaller body than a regular bass type of bass, that big 4-inch Groove Gear strap just looks weird, and again, more cumbersome to shove into the front compartment case of the bass case that I have now, right? I feel like I'd rather just keep that for cables. I don't want to have to get a strap out of there. And what ended up happening was I got this strap out again that I hadn't used for about 7 years. The bass strap or guitar strap is a Pete Schmidt strap made in Peru, right? So I have no idea how I came about it, but it's like, again, a strap by Pete Schmidt from Peru, or it was handcrafted in Peru. And I bought it on Amazon. I know that much. I bought it on Amazon. But the amazing thing about this, it's that it's a super crazy thin leather. There's a tan brownish kind of side underneath, almost orangey, I guess. And then the main side, the part you see, is black. So they put those two layers together. It's a 3-inch strap, but maybe it's even just a little hair more than that. I don't know. I recently bought another 3-inch strap thinking this would be cool, and it's slightly wider than that, just ever so slightly, and maybe that's why it feels better. I don't know. The point is, this bass strap from Peru is super crazy light. I can roll it up very tight, very tiny, and even if it's more on the loose side and not so tightly wrapped, I can put it into my bass case in the same compartment as my bass, right above the headstock, or lack thereof, because it's headless, right? But it makes it all the easier to just open the one main compartment, take out my strap, sling it on my shoulder, pull out my bass, and strap up the bass. Instead of having to unzip a second zipper to get a bass strap out, it facilitates the process. It accelerates the process, and so I enjoyed that. It was like a happy accident, right? Serendipity. It wasn't really planned initially, but things really worked out. Back to the Pete Schmidt bass strap. It's just so light, so comfortable. I'm willing to bet that it's lighter than any other leather strap anybody else owns out there. No, really, let's go. Let's play some bets. But anyway, I've had it for so many years, and it's still going, and it's great. And I've added that strip from my very first leather bass strap to the bottom of it. So there's a piece of the newer or new with a piece of the very old, right? The origins, the first leather strap I've ever had. So I'm gonna be 40 in April. I was like 14 years old when I had that leather strap, the first leather strap, and so all those years have gone by, and I've kept that bottom strip connected to this newer strap just for sentimental value. Also because it just works best lengthwise, and it works. It just visually matches, right? Even though it has that tan look from the original first leather bass strap, and it's connected to a black leather strap. It just, the combination to me looks good, and it works super light. And again, I've had the bougie straps, right? I've had the more comfortable ones. And yes, there's plenty of leather strip, bass straps out there, but I feel like many of them will be that much heavier, and I just won't enjoy them. Even if they're, I don't know, listed at a certain price that you would think, oh, that's got to be a great leather strap. Yeah, I've gotten so used to this light bass, my super crazy light strap, that I don't see myself really using another strap long term or more seriously than this one. But never say never. I'm sure that for some aesthetic reasons I may swap it out and just say, hey, I do like this leather one that's red that I just purchased recently. I decided to keep it for certain shows or whatever, wardrobe combinations kind of thing, or videos, right? Just to kind of add some color, some pop to the general presentation on stage, right? Or off stage. So I am arriving to work. It's still foggy as heck. I have no idea why we're not on foggy day schedule. This is pretty wild. But here we are, and there's my long drawn talk about bass straps and where I got the most recent one that I am using, what seems to be long term and the all-time favorite. So I can't remember what I paid for it. It might have been like $80. I don't know. Could have been $100. I don't even know. Either way, I feel like the price was justified because it's still around. It's still used. That's the worst thing, right? You spend money on a strap, whether it's cheap or expensive, and then you don't even end up loving it over time. You don't even end up using it ever, or you just use it very, very sparingly. So there it is. Interestingly enough, regarding straps, my little girl, my baby girl, Analia, has a little Luke guitar that we got her for Christmas. And she basically inherited an old leather, not even leather, an old Fender guitar strap, the one that has like that multicolored tan, yellow, orange, brown font, right? It says Fender all over the strap, right? And so the bottom of it is like this fox, this faux, this fake leather, right, pleather deal underneath. And I guess I've had it for so long, or the elements have just done it in, that it's been falling apart. It's been degrading. And so that just happened literally yesterday, and I ended up telling my baby girl, we gotta throw this away. It's all bad. So I grabbed it, I threw it in the trash, and now I gotta order a new one for her. So I gotta do some scouting on Amazon or something, some looking, and hopefully find something that'll last, that's adjustable for a kid, and I don't know, maybe even cute. I don't know. Her little Luke guitar is pink with Hello Kitty on the front as a pick guard. It's pretty wild. It's pretty intense, and I have just arrived, hence all the clicking and movement in the car right here, right now. Bass straps, guitar straps. Let me know what's your go-to. Let me know how you feel you need several, depending if you're sitting or standing. Which brings me to the last point. On my current strap, I have added a little loop of paracord, right? I tied on at the very end a little bit of paracord so that I can extend the length of the bass just a little bit and hang the bass from that paracord loop when I'm sitting. How many of you have ever stood up and been like, man, this bass length is perfect? And then you sit down and then the bass is either too high, right? It's not resting on your leg enough, and or it's too long, right? And now you have this extra bass strap slack that's just annoying, and now your bass is not as secure, right? If anything kind of flops one way or another forward, perhaps it's not as it's not as useful, that strap. If anything, it's annoying, distracting, and whatnot, and it looks weird too, right? Just having that loose strap kind of dangling an awkward way off your shoulder. So that's been my fix. I don't know if you guys do something similar, or just use another strap entirely, or you take off the bass strap entirely and say, I'm good. I don't need a strap at all. But to me, because I sit in classical position when I play my bass, it definitely helps with the balance without having to sustain it all the more. If I lean forward or lean back and I want the bass to kind of follow me just a little bit, I like playing sitting in classical position with the strap on, with that paracord loop, adding just a little bit of length. And when I do stand, I kick it back into the regular leather loop strap position, just because that's the comfort that I find myself desiring, right? Needing, wanting, and maybe it's part of the OCD. I don't know. But anyway, I'm here at work. It's time to go. It's time to teach some music, and have a great day. Have a great Monday, y'all. And thank you for listening. See you at the next one.